Recording in progress.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome to our October 11th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners agenda meeting. It's 2 o'clock. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Kearns and Commissioner Cuney are present. Commissioner French is away on county business. And there were no public testimony. There was no written comments that were received for today's agenda. Just want to put that on the record. And so I will start off with an open public forum. So this is for anyone wishing to testify on anything that is not on our agenda. First call for anyone wishing to come down and testify in the open public forum. Second call. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. Seeing none in the audience and none online, I will close the open public forum and I will look to my fellow commissioner.
Madam Chair, I move to approve item 2, including all sub-items A through L on today's 2 p.m. consent agenda.
And I will second that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes with Commissioner Kearns and Commissioner Cuney. That will then take us to, we have 2 public hearing items today prior to our public roundtable on our budget. So the first one, I believe Ben Bradabo will be coming up in the matter of adopting the 2023 Newman Lake Flood Control Zone District budget for the Spokane County Public Works Department.
Thank you, Commissioners. Ben Bradabo, Water Programs Manager in Public Works, to talk about Newman Lake Flood Control Zone District budget. And this is a few slides today, similar to presented to you before. It has an updated budget based upon some recent grant-funded project changes that we've had, just in timing of the funding. And so these are a number of bullets based upon the big items that we're looking to get through this coming year: maintain flood control operations, implementation of the capital grant is number 2 for funding from the state of Washington. Number 3 is to implement the American Rescue Plan funded project. And actually part of the budget change that we have today is that we're going to combine those 2 and run those together. Operations of the equipment out at Newman Lake, looking at weed control treatments and making sure that we are doing that for Eurasian water milfoil, and then maintain water quality monitoring of the site. Looking at gathering all water quality data, make sure that it's in one place and we can understand how the lakes is doing for trends, making sure the water quality is meeting the goals that we have, and then also work on dam safety issues that are there, and just making sure we're working with the state to work on the structures there and implement that. Next slide. The total assessment is, as I described earlier, is not changed from last year. It will be distributed under the new Board of Appraisers recommendations that were approved, is to change how that's distributed, but the total amount collected will be the same. Again, the key budget items, we'll likely do an alum treatment on the surface because the alum injection system is not functional and planned to be replaced with the ARP funding. There's funding for ARP project management by county staff, but not under the state funding. County labor is less than 2022. We've have fewer people working on this, and so we're budgeting less than what we did last year. And then water quality sampling costs is a big part of the budget, has increased from laboratory costs. These are additional details, really no change from what I briefed previously, and can run through these quickly. But the key that I want to cover at the bottom is budget uncertainties, cost increases from vendors, as you're well aware of, bidding costs and bidding climate for the state capital grant and ARP project. And so what we were trying to do this year was to get out a portion of the state capital grant funding to do some work. And we received bids from that a couple of weeks ago, and they came in high, and the supplier said they were going to take longer than we needed. And so what we've decided to do is to delay that work and try to do both the capital grant funding and the ARP funding under one contractor. A key piece is I didn't want the contractors to be running into each other at the same time by pushing that out. So if we go to the next slide, this is what was proposed initially and has been shared. And then the next one, which is almost exactly the same, it's just a different, if you go to the next slide, is this changes how the capital grant construction and the total ARP funding has changed. And so if we look on the right, you see third line down, 254,000 is under the grant reimbursements, and that's from the state capital funding, and that pushes all of that remaining funds to be spent next year. And then down towards the bottom is ARP reimbursement in the bottom quarter. We expect to spend a little bit of that this year, 50,000, and then the remainder of it into next year. And that's at 2 million. We had budgeted 2.1 million previously, but when we received the funding, it's 2 million. And so we just corrected that and think it will be sufficient for what we're trying to do. So this is really minor detail change, just for timing of how the funding comes, and none of it's district funding that's received from the assessment. This was presented to the advisory board and was approved unanimously by the advisory board, and available for any questions, and then an opportunity for public hearing. So I think, and then this is just the final slide of where we've had presentations on it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ben? Nope, I think we're good. So I do have one person who's going to testify. So I am going to open up the public hearing for item number 3A in the matter of adopting the 2023 Newman Lake Flood Control Zone District budget for the Spokane County Public Works Department. So presenting, and you have 3 minutes, is Karen Stebbins. And if you could please just say your name and address for the record.
Sure. Karen Stebbins, address 12428 Northwest Newman Lake Drive. So I'm here as chair of the board just to let you know that, as Ben just informed you, that the current advisory board unanimously approved the budget. And we did it with no assessments, no increase in assessments because of the property tax increase and then the uncertainty of the BOA, how it was going to impact the assessment payers is why we stayed the same. And with the ARP project coming, there was a lot of things that would be taken care of through that. And the board also wanted to let you guys know how much we appreciate Ben and Derek, your staff. They're amazing. They're responsive, they're positive, they're creative, and we are looking forward to working with them on the ARP project moving forward. So, and that leads me to the ARP award. The board is thrilled that you have awarded that project. The community is over the moon about it too. And it's going to be a legacy project on water quality for Newman Lake. And I mean, that is a lake that's used by thousands of Spokane County residents, as well as the assessment payers and the residents of Newman Lake. And I just want to say thank you for recognizing the need and replacing our equipment. And hopefully it will, if the experts are right, improve the water quality. And speaking of water quality, there was a toxic algae alert. I'm sure you read that in the news. But the positive thing, it happened in October. And last year it happened in late September. They used to happen in August in the middle of our boating and fishing season. And thanks to some creative things that the staff has done through our equipment not being, it's given a great experiment actually to use some things, and they've been working. And so hopefully with the ARP project, the water quality, we will prevent those from occurring as often or hopefully at all moving forward. Wanted to talk about a few other things that are happening at Newman Lake. Senator Padden has awarded the property owners a grant through the capital budget to put a milfoil clean, drain, and dry unit at the Fish and Wildlife public launch, and also potentially trying to do a launch host to educate all the people that are coming through there about water quality and their impacts on Newman Lake, and to help mitigate some of the vandalism that's been occurring at the launch. We're still working with the Beaver Dam analogs with the Lands Council and Gonzaga. They're having a tree planting this weekend. If you want to come out, be a great weekend. And then Spokane Conservation just received their final contract, and they're starting to take applications for the small unit septic systems at Honeymoon Bay. So that's really exciting. And part of that grant is also working with Newman Lake residents on how to mitigate their impact on water quality at Newman Lake. So lots of agencies, lots of things happening. And just want to say thank you for your role and what you're doing to help Newman Lake. You guys have any questions, or is there anything else I can?
No, I just want to say thank you for chairing the advisory board. I know that's, a
It's-
volunteer effort.
Yes.
And so that is very important for us as commissioners to know that board is, recommending to us, as well. And
Thank you.
improving
It's
those
been
things. So thank you.
It's been a rewarding process. So thank you.
Good. Okay. So that was the only person I have signed up to testify. So second call for anyone wishing to testify. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. Seeing none in the audience and none online, I will close the public testimony and I will look to my fellow commissioner.
Madam Chair, I move to approve item 3A in the matter of adopting the 2023 Newman Lake Flood Control Zone District budget for the Spokane County Public Works Department.
I will second that. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously for the two of us. So next on our public hearing item is 3B, which is in the matter of amending Spokane County Code sections 1.46.070, 1.46130, and 3.02.070 pertaining to appeals from decisions made by the building official. And James Moore, thank you.
Commissioners, thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, James Moore, Director of Building and Planning for Spokane County. I'm here to present to the board for consideration and adoption the changes to Spokane County Municipal Code 1.46070, 1.46130, and Section 3.02070. As you may recall, I briefed the board recently regarding the matter utilizing the hearing examiner in place of a construction review board. I'd like to reiterate that the changes will revise the Spokane County to remove the need for an appointed construction review board as required by the International Code Council and move these duties to the hearing examiner. The change would be in line with many jurisdictions across the state of Washington and the greater Spokane area. As you know, the related codes have changed over the years. Now the Construction Review Board is referenced in the I codes as the Board of Appeals. The purpose of the Board of Appeals is to provide an appeal process for the building officials' interpretation of the state adopted codes. The board does not provide an alternative method. They just simply provide They do not provide an alternative method nor suggestions, simply to verify that the code interpretation is correct. Included is the language from the International Building Code. I would like to add that the last time the Construction Review Board was utilized was in the early 90s. In discussion with the hearing examiners, understood that this will not provide an additional load that's outside of what he already handles. Mr. Koza and I have spent many hours discussing this and the effects. It's also with the changes to the State Building Code Council and ICC, International Code Council, we can submit for interpretation. So when the building official makes a interpretation, it can be submitted through the state. And then if that does not render a satisfactory answer, we can submit to ICC for a formal interpretation of the code. And once that's presented down, then that's the interpretation that's utilized for whatever regulation is being interpreted. In closing, it is the belief that the change will create an additional benefit of a standardized appeal process that mimics that of the land use actions, because we're going to go through the hearings examiner. I would like to also add this will not change or create additional staff or duties that are not already in place. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
So this is an open public hearing item. So I will open the public hearing for item number 3B as presented. First call. Not seeing anybody come forward. Second call for anyone wishing to testify. Third and final call. Seeing no one in the audience coming down, nobody online. I'll wait for the nod on the. Nope. Okay. So I will close the open public hearing and I will look to my fellow commissioner.
Madam Chair, I move to approve item 3B in the matter of amending Spokane County Code section 1.46.070, 1.46.130, and 3.02.070 pertaining to the appeals from decisions made by the building official.
I will second that. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, that will take us to our public roundtable hearing on our budget. So this is item number 4A, to consider the proposed 2023 Spokane County budget revenue estimates. So Gary, I'll let you guys state your names and title for the record and let you take off.
And this is Tessa Sheldon, Budget and Finance Manager. So we're here today to present in the first roundtable our general fund revenue estimates for the 23 budget. Next slide. So this first slide shows our general overview of the general fund revenues. And on the left-hand side there, you'll see a little dashboard that shows what percentage of each of those categories comprise the total estimate of the 231 million. And you can see that the largest category there is sales and use tax at 75.6 million. Next is property taxes at 59.7 million. And the third category there, large category, is charges for services. Now those three categories at the top make up about 84% of our total general fund revenue estimates. And that's pretty consistent with what we've seen in the past. On the right-hand side, you'll see the bar graphs that show what our 21 actual revenues were, which is at 226 million. The budgeted revenue for 22 at 230.9 million. And again, this year we're estimating for the 23 budget, $231.4 million. Next slide, please.
All right, first up for our categories, we have the 2023 sales and use tax estimated budget at $75.6 million. We have over on the right here a breakdown of how much sales tax revenue the county generates or receives on a $1,000 purchase. So if you make a purchase in the city of Spokane, we receive $5.46 of the sales tax that's collected. And if you make a purchase in the unincorporated area of the county, we receive $13.96. Some of the 0.1% sales taxes that are broken down here in this chart in the lower left are we get a different apportionment, and the city of Spokane receives an apportionment of the criminal justice sales tax and the public safety sales tax. So no one jurisdiction gets 100% of those two. The county receives 100% of the mental health sales tax, as well as the emergency communications sales tax right now. Our 2023 estimated revenue figure of $75.6 million is based on a 2% growth rate over our 2022 estimated actual collections, or a $1.6 million increase for next year's budget.
This slide shows our 2023 property taxes, which is our second largest category. And illustrated on the left is a bar chart showing the taxes, and the blue portion on top of each of the bars shows those years in which we enacted a road levy shift and the amount of that road levy shift. So you can see that our total amount in 2022 estimated, for example, is greater than our 2023 estimate because we have not built into our estimates at this time any road levy shift. We are again expecting right now, without a road levy shift or a 1% tax increase, to be $59.7 million. And that equates on the right-hand side that you'll see to 72 cents per thousand of assessed value. Now, our maximum rate that counties can assess is $1.80. So we're quite a bit lower than our maximum rate at the 72 cent level. And just for comparison purposes, Clark County this year was at 96 cents per thousand. Pierce County was at 95 cents per thousand. Snohomish County is at 61 cents per thousand, and Clark is at 60 cents per thousand. So those are comparables with comparable sizes of Spokane County. On the next slide, we get a little bit more of a breakdown in terms of how it would compare to an averaged assessed home value of $418,800. And there's three different categories there that show if you were living in the unincorporated county versus the city of Spokane versus the city of Spokane Valley. And on the left-hand side, if you'll see the unincorporated county, bottom line total, there's not a lot of difference between the three categories, but we're looking at $4,727 of taxes, property taxes paid on an assessed value of about $418,000. Now, if you'll look at what the county gets, it's only $417, which represents only 8.8% of that $4,700. Conversely, if you take a look at the state and the school district, the total of that combined is $2,612. That represents 55.3% of that $4,700 total. And then lastly, there on the bottom, the fire district at 1,012 represents 21.4% of that 4,727 total. So as you can see by illustration, the county gets very little of the total collected homeowner property tax on a typical house here in Spokane. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about us because we collect all of the property taxes and then disperse them to the appropriate entities. But we only keep 8.8% in this illustration. On the right-hand side, it just shows the proportionate breakdown of those three categories and who gets what out of on a rate basis per thousand of assessed value. So there's quite a few different categories there, and you can read them, but on the bottom there, it just shows that on a rate per thousand of assessed value right now for 22, we're only getting about $1 per thousand. But again, that drops significantly in our 23 budget estimates down to 72. And then curiously enough, when we've taken a look at new construction and how much we had in new construction last year, it was $1.29 billion countywide. And this year it's $1.58 billion countywide, which represents an increase of almost $3 billion. So that only trickles down for the county incremental proportionate share in dollars of only about $200,000 that it adds to our property tax collections. So not a lot out of that incremental increase.
Next up, we have charges for services. This is our third largest category at $57.9 million estimated for the 2023 budget. Our largest portion of charges for services is our law enforcement contracts, predominantly with the city of Spokane Valley. That is 41% of the overall estimate for next year at $23.8 million. We also have detention service contracts. Detention Services provides beds for Department of Corrections, U.S. Marshals, and other jurisdictions within Spokane County. That brings in about $13.4 million, or 23% of the total for this category. We also have various jurisdiction service contracts. Those are predominantly public defender, prosecutor, district court contracts that we provide services to the city of Spokane Valley and other small jurisdictions within the county. We have motor vehicle licenses. It's a charge for service. We provide the service on behalf of the state for a total of $4.1 million. The auditor also provides election services. And so anybody wanting to put an item on the ballot does have to pay for the proportionate share to run the election that cycle. And so that's estimated at $2.3 million next year. There's miscellaneous other court services that they provide at $1.7 million, and then a smattering of other small items for $2.9 million there. The large increase in the between 2021 and 2022 is we transitioned the jail into the general fund in 2022's budget. It had previously been in a other fund. Miscellaneous revenues are $12.6 million estimated for next year. This is made up of cost allocation. The general fund provides services to other county funds. Those are things like payroll processing, human resources, budget office. We also have other interest, and that is revenue that comes in from the PFD to pay on the Sportsplex debt. So the county issued debt for the Sportsplex. They have to pay interest. So it comes in as other interest, and that's $2.7 million next year for their debt schedule. And then investment interest on the county's cash balance is estimated to be $1.2 million next year. And the large spike down in 2021 is predominantly due to how the PFD debt was structured. So they had some kind of large floating payments and then not a large payment with interest in 2021. Intergovernmental is estimated to be $9.4 million next year, and that is predominantly money that comes from the state. It is criminal justice assistance funds, family law funds, and so that offsets the family law expense in the prosecutor's office dollar for dollar. I think your guys' slides got printed slightly differently. So it's toggling down here on here. Yep, no, I think. So it's toggling down on ours. We have liquor profit excise tax at $1.1 million, and then cannabis revenues at $700,000, and that is our maximum cap. The state takes everything else that's generated from cannabis revenues. And our third category for this slide is other financing sources. These are transfers into the general fund from other funds at the county. We have our mental health sales tax is our largest portion next year at $5.4 million. Mental health sales tax is a 0.1% sales tax that the county receives 100% of. And that tax is collected in a special revenue fund. And then we transfer in $5.4 million to support court programs, public defense, prosecution, and detention services, mental health related programs. We have $2.2 million in other different kind of transfers for other programming, and then $1.9 million in revenue for debt payments from the PFD that was associated with the interest on the other slide. The large spike in 2020 is due to mental health sales tax, the change, we had it accounted for slightly differently. And we also were able to receive first responder salaries from CARES funds. We transferred those into the general fund in 2020, and that was just over $9 million. Alrighty, fines and penalties. $5.2 million in revenue, primarily generated from property tax penalties at $2.6 million, and traffic infractions at $1.1 million. Both of these sources have seen a decrease recently, predominantly due to the pandemic and related impacts. And the legislature has changed some of the rules on property tax penalty collections. And our last category is licenses and permits. This comes from franchise fees for cable franchises in the area, so Comcast at $1.2 million, and then animal licenses totals about $1 million, and so that's for people licensing their pets in Spokane County through Scraps. And we moved Scraps into the general fund. They had previously been a different department in 2021, so that is the $1 million or so shift in 2021.
So to recap, what we've presented here in our 23 general fund revenue estimates is that we just anticipate modest growth for the 23 overall revenues. And in 23, the largest budget category, again, is sales and use tax, and it's only budgeted for 2% growth over the estimated 22 actual collections. Of course, right now we're running way ahead of our budgeted projections, but being conservative right now, we're just estimating a 2% growth over where we estimate the 22 actuals to end up. The decrease in 23 budgeted property tax is based on the preliminary assumption that the county will not be taking the annual 1% increase or the road levy shift this year. The estimated 23 levy rate of 72 cents per thousand is also 28% lower than the 22 levy rate of $1 last year. And then all revenue items, of course, are estimates and may change prior to budget adoption, as this is an ongoing process and as we work ourselves through the budget. So again, just to recap, we're looking at a revenue, general fund revenue estimate of $231.4 million. This presentation plus our initial budget roll-up from last month is posted on our county website at spokanecounty.org/199/budget-finance. Are there any questions, commissioners?
Any questions, Commissioner Kurtz? No. Appreciate the information at this point in time and then informing the public as to what you think the revenue forecasts are.
Thank you, commissioners.
Yeah. So with that then, okay, so is it okay. So this is a public hearing item. Thank you. For discussion on considering the proposed 2023 Spokane County budget revenue estimates. Anyone wishing to testify on this public hearing item? Seeing no one in the audience, no one online. Second call for anyone wishing to testify. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. Seeing none, I will close the public. Okay. I didn't get the script for that. Okay, so then we will not close the open public hearing portion. We will continue it until November 8th as we get our second roundtable discussion on our expenditures. So with that, then are there any other items to come before the board today? Okay, seeing none, then I will.
Well, I just wanted to mention, for any folks that are watching this online or watching the replay in the coming weeks, just what this roundtable discussion actually dates back to I believe it was in 2017 when we adopted the resolution to commit ourselves to a minimum of 3 open public hearings or roundtable discussions. So this is really your opportunity, the public, to tell us what you want to see in a budget, what you don't want to see in a budget, how you want to see a budget funded, how you don't want to see it funded. So really, this is your opportunity to come tell us what you want in a budget. So we'll have 2 more opportunities at this. Those dates were shared, and I encourage you to please go look at our budget page on the Spokane County website, and really just we're coming down the stretch here, but we do really want to hear from the public about what your priorities are and how you'd like to see this budget structured. So please take advantage of the opportunity, and we really want to hear from you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kurtz. Okay, with that, then I will adjourn our meeting for today. Thank you all very much for being here.